everybody, and welcome to the Football Philosophy channel. And it's early Saturday morning, about 36 hours after we've got beat 4-2 at Old Trafford by Liverpool. A game where we were the dominant force for about 20 minutes, and then Liverpool took over the game, and we couldn't virtually get a kick of the ball for a good half hour perhaps, and then we came strong again. For a short while after we substituted Fred and put Pogba into midfield and brought Greenwood on the flank. Didn't threaten them too much. I mean, Greenwood did have one shot blocked on the line. There was a little bit of a scramble, and we just had a little bit of pressure. Basically, there was 3 or 4 corners, but nothing came from them. But we did just improve a little bit. But because we were chasing the game and pushing on and trying to get that equalising goal, we were almost bound to get caught on the break. You could see it coming, and we did get caught on the break. No shortage of people reminding me that Matic came on and lost that ball that allowed them to break away. But this is not a defensive Matic. Obviously, you've got to try and keep the ball. You've got to try and not give it away all the time, at any moment, especially when you're chasing the game and there's not too many players in defensive positions behind you. But this is what can happen when you're chasing a game. It's as simple as that. It can happen to any player. It happened to Matic, and they broke away and scored. Dean Henderson didn't cover himself in glory on more than one occasion, but his positional sense for that breakaway goal, not blaming him for letting the goal in. Obviously, Salah broke away. He's rapid, Salah, and ended up with a one-on-one. But you've got to make it a little bit more difficult for him, at least. You're going to expect Salah to score anyway. But Henderson was still in his 6-yard box. I think everybody knows. I've spoken, especially on the live shows, often enough about playing Sunday League football. And you might laugh, but I'm deadly serious. I was a striker when I played Sunday League football, and if I broke away, which happened occasionally, and I only had the keeper to beat, in Sunday League, you did sometimes find that the keeper stayed in his 6-yard box. By staying in his 6-yard box, it made it so easy for you. It was unbelievable. And even as you're running through, you're thinking to yourself, he ain't coming out, this keeper. This is easy. And to see it happen in a Premier League game, look, I'm no keeping expert. I'm really not a keeping expert. Exactly what Dean Henderson should have done, what he could have done about it. I wouldn't like to say what he should have done, but what he definitely shouldn't have done was still be in his 6-yard box when Salah took that shot on. He's got to try and come out a little bit, at least, maybe, I don't know, at least to the penalty spot. If you come out of your box, look, some goalkeeping expert could say, look, you're better off coming out as fast as you can and coming out of your box. Obviously, if you come out of your box, you're in danger of handling it, and you could get sent off for handling it. Maybe at least if you're in your box, you can still use your hands. If you sometimes see somebody try and go round the keeper, and the keeper manages to block it. So exactly what he should have done. I'm not saying exactly what he should have done, but he definitely shouldn't have still been in his 6-yard box by the time Salah took that shot on. That was pretty poor. I'm not blaming him for the goal. I'm really not, because, like I say, he was on a hiding to nothing anyway. Salah likely would have. Salah's a top player, which brings me to another point when I say Salah's a top player. Salah was probably going to score whatever Dean Henderson did, but he's got to make a better effort and make it a bit more difficult for him. And that finished the game. Obviously, there was only a minute or two to play, and it went to 4-2. I've had a few people on Twitter criticising different things that I've said, and one that cropped up was somebody said, so how was that then with Pogba playing on the left? That didn't work so well, did it? Because I've been saying how much better we play with Pogba on the left than we do with Rashford playing on the left, which I still believe wholeheartedly. Pogba didn't have a good game. Hardly anybody did have a good game. Anyone who saw me fan cam, I said to Flex that I think Cavani played well. I thought Wan-Bissaka played quite well. It's difficult really to pick on others. I think Lindelof had a decent game, but I'd say that was about it. Even Luke Shaw, a little bit unfair on Luke Shaw, by the way. He did lose a ball that cost us a goal. I'm probably barking up the wrong tree. I hope I am at that level. But when Fred gave the ball away and Luke Shaw rescued it, there was a moment there where it looked like he could have passed it to Fred, give it back to him, but he decided to take somebody on instead and ended up losing the ball, and they ended up getting a goal from it. And I've got to be honest, Fred gave that terrible pass away at Leicester in the Cup not too long ago, which resulted in a goal. He gave that terrible pass away against Liverpool the other night that resulted in a decent save by the keeper, and luckily it looks like we were getting away with it. But then Luke Shaw should have passed it to Fred. This is what I'm leading to. It crossed my mind, did Luke Shaw even think I'm not giving it? It really did cross my mind. There and then watching it live, I thought it's not like Luke Shaw not to accept a simple pass like that and take somebody on instead in his own last third, which is what he did. And, they ended up scoring because of it. It's definitely on Luke Shaw in the end. Definitely. I'm not saying it's on Fred. It's definitely on Luke Shaw. But I do feel as though there's just a little bit of a reluctance there to give the ball back to Fred. I really did. Getting back to Pogba playing on the left. One or two people on Twitter saying, how did that go then? He didn't go so clever, taking the mickey out of me, really. Didn't go so well with Pogba on the left today, did it? On the live show before the game, somebody said to me a similar thing about Pogba playing on the left, and that was it. The question was on the live show, what are your excuses going to be if it doesn't work tonight? If Pogba doesn't work on the left, if the midfield doesn't work tonight? So I said, well, what do you mean? I don't need to make excuses. I'll get me excuses in though. Liverpool, look, they're still a top side. If they click, they're a top. I know they've had an off spell. It looks like they've got a great chance of top four now. By the way, they've got 3 games to play. If they win them all, it's in their hands. And it isn't a difficult running, although there is a couple of tricky fixtures there. You've still got to play Palace, still got to play Burnley. Both can be very tricky fixtures. They should beat West Brom, but always say you don't know. They're relegated now. It sometimes has a different sort of result in how people play. Sometimes the pressure's off and teams can... I've known teams play better once they've been relegated, but I've also known them throw the towel in and Liverpool could batter them 5-0 or something. But they've got West Brom, they've got Burnley, they've got Palace. If they win all those games now, having beaten us, they will be in the top 4. So it's not like... at one point, it looked like they might be finished 7th or 8th, but they've still got great players, really good players. And when they click, they're a difficult side to play against. I said that on the live show. I said, no matter what team we field, so that you don't need to get your excuses in. People need to understand football. I think fans sometimes with plenty of fans, especially if you're a fan of a big club, you think your team is the best team and you think your players are the best players. And then when you play another good team, you want to look for a reason. I think people expect your team to win, and if they don't win, they want to know a reason why your team didn't win. What I'm trying to get at is they don't want to put any credit to the opposition whatsoever. If the opposition beat you, they want to know the reason why, and is it entirely the fault of your team that you lost? Obviously, there's a lot of it is on your team, and your team could do better. You just can't, I think what I'm trying to say, you just can't expect your team to win every game. Too many fans just think you're going to win every game. If we had, this is what I said on the show, if we had Ronaldo and Messi up front, we might not win. So you can't just think that you're going to win. And then when you don't win, say, that's because of this and because of that, because that particular player. I mean, I've pointed out a few things that didn't go well for us. Team shape was shocking. Team shape when defending was shocking. I've put something on Twitter and I've put it on Instagram, a clip where I'm talking about players not getting behind the ball, particularly the 2 wide men, and they're just pouring forward, and we were too often caught with only McTominay and Fred in midfield. When I say in midfield, if you watch, I'm going to the cup final later today, by the way, and I'll see Leicester playing like this, and I'll see Chelsea playing like this when they're defending. When the opposition have got the ball, they will fall into a team shape where they've got 2 lines across the field, a back 4, maybe a midfield 4, or even in Chelsea's case, a back 5 and a midfield 4, with only 1 man allowed to be ahead of the ball when they're defending. I'm sure you'll see that with Leicester. when Chelsea have got the ball, and I'm sure you'll see it with Chelsea when Leicester have got the ball. So our team shape, to me, this is another thing. Again, somebody responded on Twitter. You can quite clearly see, somebody said, because anybody who's seen that clip that I put up, you know, there's the back four. As it builds up, you've got McTominay and Fred in the middle, but Fred has to go forward to try and make a challenge. It leaves only McTominay. As they pass the ball out to Robertson, who gives it to Jota, Jota shoots, Henderson makes an half-decent save, they get a corner. From that corner, they score their equaliser. I've been trying to point out, I was trying to explain it to Flex on the fan cam, and I've put an explanation of it on there. That's just one moment in the game. It's one moment in the game. But your team shape has got to be like that throughout. When I say like that, you need at least a line of four in front of your back four when the opposition are defending. Another thing that's been said to me, we're not Burnley. Look, you play like the best teams play like this. You know, Chelsea and City in the Champions League final, they won't be just leaving with two players in front of the back four when the opposition are coming forward. You've got to get players behind the ball and make yourselves difficult to beat. That's the first job that a manager's got to do. Make yourselves difficult to beat. And, you know, and give yourself a chance. Now, we were leading on the clip that I've put up, we were actually leading at the time. You've got to try and make yourselves compact. That's what that means. You two lines of four with not a lot, if that's your four players, not only small spaces or not big spaces between the four players, that's the back four. Then you've got four midfield players in front of that, no big spaces, but you also don't want a big space between the back four and the midfield four. You don't want a big space, maybe 8 yards, 10 yards maximum, I would say, because if that space is too big, so if you're 15 or 20 yards in front of you, it's too easy for one of the opposition to get into that space, you know, in the hole, as they call it. It's easy enough to find little pockets of space in between the back four and the midfield. So if the gaps are too big between the players, they can get passes through it too easily. And then if the gap's too big between the defence and the midfield, it's too easy for somebody to find a little pocket of space where they can receive the ball and they've got time to turn. If that space between the two lines isn't too big, then by the time they receive that ball, when somebody passes the ball, I'm just going to guess at the times, but you know, I don't know exactly how long it takes a ball to travel 20 yards. If somebody passes the ball from the other side of the midfield, through the midfield, into the striker's feet, how long does it take that ball to travel? I don't know, say it's a 15 or 20 yard pass along the floor, it probably takes a second, maybe, you know, it won't take 2 seconds. I'd be surprised if it's as long as that, maybe a second and a half. But if the gap between your players is only 7 or 8 yards, you know, the players can move 4 or 5 yards in a second. You know, they can move 4 or 5 yards in a second or a second and a half. So while that ball's travelling to that person who's in that space, somebody can be on him. It's a similar amount of time that it takes for that ball to travel 20 yards or 15 yards. You can run 4 yards or 5 yards and be on that player. So it makes it more difficult. You need the spaces. That's one of the reasons why you need the spaces to be small, so that they can't find space, they don't get time to turn, and obviously the space between the players, so they can't easily get balls through the gaps. So the way United were playing, numerous times, only in the instance I showed yesterday, there's only, you cut your back four, and in an ideal world you want 4 players 8 or 10 yards in front of that. When I'm talking, obviously on a breakaway it's different. In top class Premier League football, you see plenty of times in the game where the ball goes back into the opposition's half and they're knocking the ball around at the back, then they knock it into midfield. They might give it to a fullback who might give it back. This is why you sometimes see 10, 15, 20. When it's your own team, 80% of the fans say it's boring football, but you're keeping the ball because you want to keep the ball. The opposition can't score if they've got the ball, and you're also trying to probe, you're trying to look for that weak link, you're trying to find that little pocket of space where you can fire it into somebody. You want to keep the ball as long as you can until the right moment comes. So not only are they passing the ball around, but but you don't mind them passing the ball around when they're in their own half or around the halfway line. So if you've got 2 banks of 4, they can have it around there. Now what we're doing is we've got, in the instance that I've put on Twitter, the clip on Twitter and on Instagram, you know, Pogba's run forward, he's not in line. Rashford hasn't really run forward. He doesn't get back enough in line often enough. I'm going to come to the formation that somebody else said in a bit. So Rashford isn't in line often enough anyway. He's playing really more as a forward who track back rather than a wide player, a proper wide player, a winger. Will be back more often and burst forward rather than, you know, being reactive rather than proactive. They're running back after, in that particular clip, you'll see that Rashford starts running back when the ball goes to a man who's in his vicinity. You need to be goal side of that man before the ball comes into that vicinity. That's what you need to do. It's no good running back when he's got it, because, you know, he receives the ball, he's attacking that way, and Marcus is there. No, as soon as he receives the ball, he starts running. But he could have jogged into position and be here, and then when he receives the ball, you're already goal side of him. It makes his job more difficult. So you got to have you need your 2 lines of 4 in our lineup. Make no mistake about this. I've seen somebody, another person said, yeah, but you can see it's in 4-2-3. It does. There are lines. You can see that there are lines. There's a back 4. There's McTominay and Fred. Then there's Pogba a bit further up to the left, and there's Rashford further up to the right. And in between, in roughly the same line as Rashford and Pogba, you've got Bruno, and then Cavani just slightly ahead of that. And when you look at it like that, you know, to the naked eye, it looks okay. But at the end of the day, you've only got 2 midfield players who are covering all the space. You've got 4 defenders. You've only got 2 midfield players. And then as soon as they beat the line of the 3, by the way, Fred strides out. So there's a moment there, and it's on the clip. There's only McTominay who's within 8 or 10 yards of the back 4. You need 4 players in that position, 8 or 10 yards in front of the back 4. We've got 1. We've got 1. You won't see a situation like that. I'll be staggered. And I'm going to the cup final later today, by the way. I've said that. I've said it on Instagram. I've been invited to the cup final. United don't play till Tuesday. I'm taking the weekend off, by the way. I'm going to get this up this morning before I go. I'm taking the weekend off. I'll get this up, as I say, and then United don't play till Tuesday, so Monday I'll start putting something on about Tuesday night's game. I'll talk about that a little bit at the end. Getting back to the team shape. So somebody said you can quite clearly see it's 4-2-3-1. Maybe it is. Maybe they have been told to play like that. But if that's how they've been told to play against a team of the quality of Liverpool, it's wrong. I don't care what anybody says. You cannot just have 2 midfield players and then Fred gets drawn out because they beat on 1 man. You can't just have 2 midfield players who are staying in contact with your back 4. You've got to have a line of 4. You really have. So it should be your 2 wide men, which in that game is Rashford and Pogba, your 2 central midfield players, which is McTominay and Fred, and it's okay for your number 10 to be a little bit further forward than that, which is Bruno, and obviously your number 9 a little bit further forward than that. This is, as I said before, this is about when you're defending, when you've got time to settle into your position. I know they'll get breakaways and different things happen in a game where you haven't got enough men behind the ball. That can happen to you. Even when you're playing well, that can happen to you. But when the opposition, I'm talking about, as I've just said, when it's not back into their half or they've got hold of it in their half and they're just knocking it around, you know, 2 or 3 little four little passes, you've got loads of time to settle into your shape. Every player should know what he's doing and you should settle into your shape. So one of 2 things here, and I'm adamant that this is the way it should be. You've got to get that line of 4. So one of 2 things is going wrong. Either the players have been told to do it right and they're not doing it right, and the two main culprits were the 2 wide men, Rashford and Pogba. They were the 2 main culprits. Now it could be that they've been told to settle into that shape. Somebody said that, like I said, on Twitter. He said you can see that it's 4-2-3-1. 4-2-3-1's okay when you're attacking. It's also okay if you're deciding to press to try and get the ball back in their half. You know, if all your team's up and you're trying to get the ball back in their half, you know, it's no good one man pressing or two men pressing. So you need at least 3, possibly 4 men pressing to try and make it difficult for them to get out. But when they've got the ball in their half, and look at the clip that I've put up, when all our team are in our half, all of them, Cavani's just about on the halfway line. Everybody else is in our half. So they've got the ball, they've got time on the ball, they've got time to look to see who they're going to pass it to. You need your lines to be correct. So if they've been told to stay in 4-2-3-1 when defending deep, then that's wrong anyway. So they're either doing it wrong or they've not been told to do it the right way. So there's something desperately wrong. It needs sorting out. We haven't got really another important game apart from the Europa League final. It can go wrong for us in the Europa League final. You do need this to go right for you against lots of teams, not just necessarily. It can go badly wrong for you. It has done. I mean, I did a similar thing, funnily enough, when we got beat by Sevilla. The team shape wasn't good against Sevilla. Both their fullbacks overlapping, not being tracked. I think I'm right in saying that we got beat by Sevilla in the semi-final last year, and both of their fullbacks got an assist. I'm pretty sure Regulion, I think, was playing left back, and I think Navas was playing right back. So it was similar. It was similar. We need to make sure that we're in shape. Now, so that's the Liverpool game. That's behind us. We've got beat 4-2. It's a heavy defeat. That it is a heavy defeat. It really is. I said on Instagram, by the way, I did a quick clip at half time on Instagram. I said I said at the time, he's got to sort this out. They're going to get 3 or 4 here. We're already 2-1 down. They'd scored twice in the last 10 minutes of the half. I said at half time, it needs sorting out. The team shape's not right. These will end up with 3 or 4, and they did get 4. I'm devastated, absolutely devastated. So we've got Fulham to play on Tuesday, and then Wolves next Sunday. The Wolves game is only 3 days, I think, before the Europa League final. I think the season ends on a Sunday. I'm pretty sure of that, and I haven't checked it because it's usually a Sunday. So I think the league's ending on a Sunday, and then on the Wednesday night we've got the Europa League final. So surely for that final game against Wolves, he's not going to play, I would imagine, and he's just done it in one game because we played Leicester Tuesday, played Villa Sunday, and then obviously Liverpool Thursday. So, you know, he's just done it. It doesn't matter to Ole. He's just done it against Leicester, hasn't he? He didn't play anybody. There wasn't a single player in that lineup who's an automatic starter. Some people might argue Greenwood's an automatic starter. I don't think he is. I'd hazard a guess at what the team's going to be in the Europa League final, being De Gea will be in goal. I think he's become the Europa League keeper at the minute, and it'll be, if Maguire's fit, of course. We're hoping he's going to be fit in time. I never even spoke about Maguire, by the way. What a miss he was. You don't realise what you've got till it's missing sometimes. So Maguire was a big miss. Whether he's going to be fit or not, I'm assuming he is fit. Just as I say, as I'm saying, the team that played against Leicester, there wasn't a single automatic starter in that. And the reason I'm saying that, this I believe will be the cup final lineup if fit. It'll be Henderson, it'll be Wan-Bissaka, it'll be Lindelof, Maguire if fit, it'll be Luke Shaw. None of those players started against Leicester. It'll be McTominay and Fred. Fred got hauled off, and he was, you know, he started off really brightly, by the way. I was impressed with him the first 20 minutes. He was one of the better players for 20 minutes, but then he was terrible in the second half. Whether there's a chance, because Matic came on and didn't do great, but you are chasing the game by that stage. There probably isn't a chance that Matic will take his place for this cup final. I think it'd be too sort of, I don't know, is disrespectful the right word to, you know, about a player who's played most and virtually all of the big games. I'd play Matic every day of the week. Matic is a footballer, in my opinion. I'd play Matic every day of the week, but, you know, Fred's played all the big games. Will he leave Fred out of the cup final? I don't think so. It'll be McTominay and Fred. It'll be Bruno at 10. It'll be Cavani at 9. I think didn't have a good game the other day, but Rashford's been playing poor anyway. Pogba's been playing well on the left, and I don't think Rashford's been playing very well. So I think it'd be Pogba on the left. So it's wide on the right, where it's going to be either Marcus Rashford or Mason Greenwood. Getting back to my point, that means that if I'm right, that then not those two players are not automatic choices. He'll probably go with Rashford, but I wouldn't be surprised if it was Greenwood because of the way Marcus has been playing. So, but it's a balancing act between the right hand side. But I think the rest of the team is going to pick itself if fit. So against Leicester, he didn't play, in my opinion, a single player who's an automatic starter in the starting 11 for the cup final. In other words, the first team. So I think when we play Wolves in the last game, I don't think you will see a player play who's expected to play on the Wednesday in the Europa League final. Whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, some managers would argue that to keep it going and keep the confidence up, try and win games and just be used to playing. And some managers think differently about it, but it has been a long, hard season. I think he won't pick a player against Wolves who's going to then play on a Wednesday. So against Fulham on Tuesday night, I'm going to hazard a guess that he will play. Obviously, Maguire won't be fit by Tuesday. I think he'll pick his full-strength team against Fulham because that'll be 8 days before the final, and that'll give you a big clue as to his way of thinking. That's what I expect to see. Like I say, I'm off to the cup final today. I'll be fascinated to see sitting in the stand and looking down on it and seeing the team shape. I'll probably take a few photographs and put them on Twitter or on Instagram, and I'll mention, look, that's how it needs to be. And I believe that's how we need to think about that when we're playing big games. And we've got this Europa League Cup final coming up, and I wouldn't be going out there thinking that we can just put our players on the pitch, our players are better than theirs and we'll win. That is not how football works. If we're not organised, we could easily end up with egg on our faces. So that's that. I'll be back on Monday. I'm taking the weekend off. I'm going to the cup final, but I will be on Twitter and I will be on Instagram quite often over the weekend now. So I'll be back on YouTube though at some stage Monday. I hope you've enjoyed that show. If you've enjoyed that show, please tell all your friends. Please subscribe. If you didn't enjoy it, don't tell anybody. Keep stum.